Yo, what's up? My name's TMTG, and I've been playing Magic the Gathering for over 10 years, including tons of different formats like Standard, Legacy, Vintage, and of course, Commander. Now, I love Tutors in Magic the Gathering. I think they're one of the most fun cards that exist. However, in Commander specifically, cards like Demonic Tutor or Worldly Tutor become very samey and monotonous very quickly. Once you learn your deck to any adequate degree, you understand what you need to tutor for almost at all times to get yourself closer to victory. And it kind of streamlines Commander, it kind of streamlines the process, and you end up doing the same path to victory every single time. Where a big reason people play Commander is that variety of gameplay. So today I took the time to browse through and scour the internet to find 10 underrated Commander tutors that keep things interesting, won't be super broken and streamlined, but can also be underratedly powerful and add to the strategies you may currently already be using. Hey, post-editing Petrowski here. Make sure if you find today's video helpful or entertaining or interesting in any way, like the video and most importantly, subscribe. I would love to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers and get monetized. It's a massive goal of mine by the end of the year in 2025. If you want to support that dream and you make sure that my content is actually helpful and fun to you, do that first, then please feel free to subscribe. It's free. So let's just go ahead and jump into our list. With number 10, we have Wild Research. Now, Wild Research is a red rare enchantment from Apocalypse for 2 and a red. You place it down as an enchantment, and then you can activate it any number of times repeatedly from that point forward, and you don't need to sacrifice it to activate it. Usually, I feel like cards like this, especially from back then, you'd have to sacrifice to use their effect. So it's a 2 red enchantment that says 1 and a white to search your library for an enchantment card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, and then discard a card at random. That's going to keep things exciting, keep things fun, and make it less consistent, but still get you that reward, and then shuffle your library. You can just keep paying that 1 and a white over and over and over again and keep tutoring for enchantments if you want, whether that's Pillow Fort enchantments, whether it's auras, whether it's Oblivion Rings or things to remove your opponent's creatures or deal with the board. Wild Research is so darn flexible. And you also have 1 and a blue to search your library for an instant card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand, then discard a card at random. I love this on blue as well. You could tutor for a Force of Will at instant speed, tutor for a counterspell, tutor for a negate, tutor for a dispel if you want to just save your mana, and you can use that to counter the thing. But you could tutor for specific counterspells like tutoring for an annul, which only counters artifacts or enchantments on the fly. This card is so interesting to me. It's so exciting, and I never see this card. I've never seen it played. It costs $1 or less, and it's only in about 3,000 decks on EDH Rec. Now, the biggest limiter of Wild Research is that it is Jeskai colors. So you have to be in a Jeskai deck or 4-color or 5-color deck to be able to even fit it in your specific Commander deck. And you might think to yourself, like, oh, you also probably have to care about enchantments and instants at the same time. I don't think so. Personally, I think you could absolutely fit this into your deck just as a repeatable tutor target for something if you're just worried about enchantments or just worried about instants. This card seems unbelievably perfect for some sort of Jeskai control. Once again, you're able to tutor for those Pillow Fort style effects, those ghostly prisons, those propagandas, etc., while also tutoring for counterspells all at instant speed. I feel like this is just the perfect card, once again, for a big Jeskai control deck, which I don't see a whole lot of in Commander, but this card kind of makes it all work. I love the idea of paying 2 white and tutoring for an enchantment at instant speed, and then grabbing a Stasis Snare to be able to answer a threat, but only if an opponent swings at you, right? There's just so much cool reactionary potential here, as well as just feeding and fueling your own strategies on your own main phase. Is it the best card in all of Magic? No. You need a lot of mana to do a lot of the things I'm talking about. 3 mana to even play it, and then if you want to do the, tutor for Stasis Snare and then play Stasis Snare, that's 5 mana plus 3 white pips. There's a lot going against this card, don't get me wrong, but I think it is criminally underrated, and that's what this list is about. Now, everybody plays Worldly Tutor, but almost nobody plays Moanvuli Beast Tracker. 1 and 2 green for a 2/1 human scout that, when it enters, you search your library for a creature card with Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample, reveal it, shuffle your library. You have to put it on top of your library, one of the downsides of this, but Worldly Tutor does the same thing. Green tutors are super interesting. This card having the human typing, being a chump blocker if you need it, being a sacrifice fodder. I feel like also a lot of players read Moanvuli and think it's very limited. What creatures that have Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample are really that good? Well, number 1, quite a few, but also I like the versatility you have here. If you need to push through some extra damage and get through a fog effect, you can pick up a questing beast. If you need to push towards more endgame and sacrificing your creatures and your Golgari, you can go Harvester of Souls. Need to rebuild your board state after a big board wipe, or just want to get more creatures on the battlefield in general, you can pick up a Grave Titan. Need to fill your graveyard as well as get some more recursion or possibly lands on the battlefield, you can pick up a 6. Kind of a similar thing to 6, more lands on the battlefield and a big powerful endgame threat with Lumra. Or let's say it's early game and you're playing Monvoli on turn 3 and you're kind of land screwed and you need to really get your gears going a little bit more, you could pick up a Sylvan Caryatid, a little mana dork with hexproof. One of the big unfortunate things is you cannot get Craterhoof Behemoth with Monvoli because Craterhoof gives your other creatures trample on ETB. It itself doesn't have trample written on the card, so that is unfortunate, I'm not going to lie. However, you do get budget Craterhoof. You get End Raise Forerunners. This creature has trample. You can tutor for this with Monvoli. You do have to reveal this card though, so your opponents might see this coming a bit more. Also, when you're in a creature deck, you want other creatures to enable your synergies and other strategies. Why use a dumb instant or sorcery like a Worldly Tutor when you could use another creature and get a draw or other triggers off cards like Beast Whisperer to draw a card whenever you play that creature to then tutor out your other card. The only unfortunate kind of Nambo combo here is you cannot stack these in a way to where you play them on Volley, tutor your creature and then draw the card. Beast Whisperer says on cast, so on cast you draw the card, then Monvoli enters the battlefield, then her effect triggers, so then you can tutor. So you can't stack them like that, unfortunately. If you have some effect that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield you draw a card, you can stack those in a way where you play Monvoli, trigger her, choose to trigger her ability first, and then draw the card afterwards. But anything like Beast Whisperer or Glimpse of Nature, which both say whenever you cast or play a creature spell, you do have to draw first. Monvoli currently sees play in 0.2% of the commander decks that it could, according to EDHREC, with a little over 6,000 decks. And that's what we call underrated. And now next up, number 8 on our list, because we decided to do a countdown instead of a count up for some reason, that card is going to be Time of Need. 1 in a green for a sorcery from Kamigawa. Search your library for a legendary creature, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. 2 mana to tutor for a legendary creature, plain and simple. I know I gave a ton of examples for Monvoli because it was a bit more specific, but do I even need to give you guys examples for legendary creatures that are powerful to tutor for in the year 2025? It's Wizards of the Coast. They haven't stopped printing legendary creatures for the past 4 or 5 years or so, ever since Commander has gotten super popular. They know how to make their money, man. Love them or hate them, but they know their audience. You can find 20 legendary creatures per set these days. So the longer that time passes, the more cards that get printed, the more powerful this card becomes. And you can pick up this card for less than the price of a booster pack at around $2-3 at the moment, as well as it's only in about 0.69% of decks according to EDHREC, and that is about 21,000 decks. One of the more popular cards we're going to talk about today. All right, next up is a card that was printed in one of my favorite Magic sets of all time. This is number 7. This card was so underrated for so long, and it's still a bit underrated, but it's getting a lot more respect these days. Now it's commanding like a $5 or $6 price tag, so I think people are catching on to how good Conduit of Ruin is. Conduit of Ruin, a 6 mana Eldrazi, fully colorless from Battle for Zendikar. 6 mana for a 5/5. When you cast it, it is not an ETB, it's a cast. So even if this gets countered, you still get that little top benefit, which is pretty relevant. You may search your library for a colorless creature card with CMC 7 or greater. Reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. And the bottom text is what I think a lot of people are coming around to. The first creature spell you cost each turn costs 2 less to cast. This helps you get to your commander faster. If you play, like I play this in Maelstrom Wanderer, and this card goes bonkers. Being able to play this on turn 6, be able to play Maelstrom Wanderer the next turn, have some mana left over to do more ridiculous things, as well as sometimes if you can like stack your library in a way. With Maelstrom, you have to be able to, you know, do it in a certain way, but you could. Or if you, with Maelstrom Wanderer, if you cascade into Conduit of the Ruin on the first cascade, you can then tutor a 7-drop to then cascade into on the second cast off of Maelstrom Wanderer. So there's a lot of combos there. Conduit of Ruin, really powerful card, just really good card for any big creature. It's a colorless card that just fits into pretty much any big creature deck. And let's say you're someone who doesn't play a whole lot of colorless creatures. You know, hey, Petrowski, I don't know if I really have any 7 or greater colorless creatures in my deck. Throw in 1. If you add 1 colorless creature other than Conduit of Ruin that's 7 or greater mana, you can just tutor that most of the time. I think it's enough. I think there's still enough value there to play Conduit of Ruin. Now that it's $5 or $6, I wouldn't say go pick up a bunch of these if you don't have them, but if you, a lot of them just have these laying around. I have some of these. I played these in Standard at the time in a deck that I loved very, very much. Very cool card. Definitely still a bit underrated. It is in 0.8% of decks, but it's colorless decks. It's in 54,000 decks, which is quite a bit. I do think Conduit of Ruin less underrated nowadays, but for so long was criminally underrated. Still in under 1% of decks, but that's pretty much, it's colorless. So it's pretty much every single deck, right? So 54,000, Conduit of Ruin doing pretty well for itself these days. Next up, number 6 has quickly become one of my favorite, I think maybe my favorite card on this whole list, to be totally honest with you. This card is so fun. I love cumulative upkeep cards. They are not for everybody. This card is one of the, I want to say, weaker ones on this list, but it's almost not fair to it, man. It can get really powerful, but it needs time. It needs a lot of turns, and will you really get there in a game of EDH? That's the question. If you have a long, grindy game sort of friend group, that's what makes this card more powerful and more powerful. The longer the game goes, the more powerful this card becomes. This is Hibernation's End. It's just such a fun card, dude. It's such a flavorful, cool card. Hibernation's End, 4 and a green for an enchantment from Ice Age or Cold Snap. That's how you know it's going to be a fun card. Cold Snap, excuse me. Cumulative upkeep of 1. Whenever you pay its cumulative upkeep cost, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of age counters on Hibernation's End and put it into play. If this card tutored it and put it into your hand, it would be Omega ass. It would be like unplayable. It wouldn't even be on this list. Don't you worry. But the fact that it puts it into play, yes, it's very slow, but that kind of makes it like if you can slow down the game or get to like turn 8 or whatever, or get this out sooner as well. Ideally, you play like an Elvish Mystic on turn 1 or some sort of Mana Dork on turn 1, Mana Dork or Ramp on turn 2. You could get this thing out on turn 3 or 4. Especially with Soul, obviously, I forget, we have Soul Ring in Commander, one of the most broken cards of all time that you put in every deck, right? You could easily get this card out on turn 3 or turn 4 easily, but turn 3. Get this out on turn 3. Turn 4, you get a 1-drop. Turn 5, you get a 2-drop. Turn 6, you get a 3-drop. Turn 7, you get a 4-drop, etc., etc., etc. It's not amazing, but you are getting, you have to pay a bit of your mana as well. But you're tutoring think of it as you're tutoring the best 2-drop out of your deck, the best 3-drop out of your deck, the best 4-drop, right? Like you're tutoring the best card out of your deck for that specific situation as well. If you need to ramp, you could grab yourself a Sakura Tribe Elder. If you need lands in the graveyard, Ruminant Excavator, you could get all sorts of crazy things. I think this card is a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the weaker ones on this list, but it's so fun. It's under $1 to pick up, man. It's in only 1,800 decks on EDH Rec. I think this is really good in decks that, and weirdly, green aggro decks that run out of gas. So I might end up legitimately putting this in my wife. My wife has an Aula deck, the Queen of the Bears or whatever. And she often starts off really strong, but then kind of runs out of gas sometimes towards the end. And it'd be nice to have a spell like this to put all of her mana into and sink all of her mana into and just tutor bears on curve for the rest of the game and eventually help her get that little finishing extra pump that she needs. Only at 0.06%. Plus it has bears on it, and she wants as many cards with bears on them in the deck. So that's a theme win. 0.06% of decks. Try it. Try it out. It's $1. It's a lot of fun. Okay, not the most powerful card on the list, but one that will get everybody on the table to turn their heads and be like, "What is that card? That's so cool." Next up, number 5 on our list. We're halfway through. I'm going to try to speed things up here to quick take a little bit, but this is Supply and Demand, a Bant card that can do 2 different things. And what if we flip it like this so it's a bit easier to read? Damn these half and half cards being a nightmare to read when you're holding them like that. So on the supply side, we have a token generator. X, a green and a white, to put X 1/1 green sapperling tokens onto the battlefield. Sure, that's cool if that's a side plan in your deck. Why not? And you also have 1, a white, and a blue. Search your library for a multicolored card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I love that it is not just multicolored creature, multicolored, sorcery. It is multicolored card. How many multicolored cards are we playing in Commander? Probably a fair bit. That's kind of the whole point, is playing these multiple colored decks. You could use this to grab a Dovin's Veto and grab a counter spell. You could use it to pick up a Reflector Mage, which is an uncommon creature card that I think people hard sleep on in Commander. This card is annoying in any type of Magic, but especially Commander. Fun fact, what's this card's play rate in Commander? Okay, it's doing a bit better than I expected, but it's still only in about 1.5% of decks. If you don't know Reflector Mage, you're a better person than I, okay? It's from Oath of the Gatewatch, a really cool Magic set. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature, an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Okay, 3 mana for a 2/3 creature that bounces. Sure. However, that creature's owner can't cast spells with the same name as that creature until your next turn. That means you are essentially time walking someone from playing that creature, especially if it's their commander. You could bounce someone's commander, they can't recast it on their next turn, and then you get to go all the way around to your turn. Maybe you want to gather resources, get a counter spell because you know they're going to try to cast that creature again, and then it goes all the way back. When you have like the commander, the rotations, right? How long it takes to get back to someone's turn. The longer they are delayed, when they're delayed, an extra turn in commander is essentially like 3 more turns, right? It's adding 3 turns to the time walk. It's really, this could be deadly. This card could be a nightmare for only 3 mana, and it gets you a 2/3 body on the battlefield. Anyway, this video isn't a video about underrated uncommons from Oath of the Gatewatch. Anyways, demand, search your library for a multicolored card. You have a lot of versatility. You could grab a sorcery, an instant, an enabler, a reaction spell, a creature like Reflector Mage, a counter spell like Dovin's Veto. There's tons of options. You could grab a Sphinx's Revolution and enable yourself to gain a bunch of life and draw a bunch of cards, or you could even tutor up a Supreme Verdict. Let's say the board's getting out of control. You need to go ahead and tutor up that board wipe that can't be countered. Also, for reference, supply and demand is only in 1,800 decks, according to EDH Rec, or 0.24% of the decks that it could go in. Next up is Bring to Light, another rare from Battle for Zendikar. Hey man, I love that set. It's got some really cool underrated cards, okay? Bring to Light was a really interesting card when it got printed. Everybody was all over it. There were standard decks. There was even a modern deck that played Bring to Light control. Bring to Light, okay? It is a 5-mana sorcery with Converge. Search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with CMC less than or equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. You exile that card, shuffle your library, then cast it without paying its mana cost. This is a card that you want to play in a 5-color deck, a 4-color deck. You could do it in 3. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend playing this in 3-color. Unless you have like a really crucial 3 CMC instant or sorcery that you want. Like, it's still, if you have a super crucial CMC 3 creature instant or sorcery that you want to cast at all times in the deck, you could do that. Paying 5 mana to tutor for a card and cast, it's basically a demonic tutor at that point. Like, you're paying 2 mana and then 3 CMC thing. So you could do Bring to Light in a 3-color deck, but really where it gets its power is 4 and 5-color decks. Being able to tutor for, once again, anything. You could tutor for Supreme Verdict with this, hilariously, right? You could tutor for anything, any sort of good creature. You could tutor for a 5 CMC creature, smack a big bad boy on the battlefield. 5 CMC in a 5-color deck to be able to tutor for your best 5-drop and then put it directly into play. It's basically having the best card. Bring to Light is essentially, in a properly built deck, it's like having the best card in your deck, in your hands at all times, as long as you have Bring to Light. It's having like it's a double copy. Bring to Light is an extra copy of all your best cards for whatever instance you need them. It's really powerful, like really powerful in 4 and 5-color decks, and just criminally underrated in my opinion. Only in 1.41% of decks, and in about 21,000 decks to be fair, and it only costs 2 quarters. It's 2 quarters, man. 2 gumballs. All right, now this next card, number 3 on our list, Altar of Bone. This is slightly worse, but also slightly better, but also slightly different Worldly Tutor, okay? It's 1 and a green, so firstly, you need to be in Celestia colors, at least not just mono green. It's for a sorcery from actual Ice Age this time. Sacrifice a creature. So if you have to have a creature to sack, you could do like a Blister Pod or some dumb little thing, a Doomed Traveler, something silly. I really like this card in Aristocrat decks. If you want to tutor in Aristocrat decks that are like Abzan Aristocrats, right? Or if you want to be brave enough, Selesnya Aristocrats would be sick. With the old legend for, is it Emiria? I'm saying it wrong, but anyways. Sacrifice creature, look through your library for a creature. So you sack a creature, you tutor for a creature card, you put it into your hand, unlike the top of your library, like Worldly Tutor, and then you shuffle your library. Really simple. Sack a creature, tutor a creature, put it in your hand. I think it enables a lot of things. Like, some people want to play this over Worldly Tutor because you want those sack synergies. If you have like your Smothering Abominations, your Harvester of Souls we showed earlier, right? It depends on the deck that you want Altar of Bone in, but this is going to be better than Worldly Tutor in some instances, or different. I don't want to say better because Worldly Tutor is just so good. It's Worldly Tutor. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's going to be different and a really cool alternative. That's going to cost you about $5, which is not, amazingly cheap, but it's not super expensive. And I believe Altar of Bone is on the reserved list. So if that's something you care about, if you ever want to think of it as an investment, I think it's a super underrated card. Be careful when it comes to Magic the Gathering investments. Make sure you're doing your real, IRL stuff first. But it's a really cool card. Definitely check it out. Underrated for sure. Only in 4,400 decks. 0.3% of the decks that could play it. That's crazy. Okay, this card is a weird one. This is number 2 on the list. This is Wild Pair, okay? This is 4 and 2 green for an enchantment. A lot of enchantment tutors. This card is, just to hear me out. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, you may search your library for a creature card with the same total power and toughness and put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. This card is very slow. It's 6 mana to get on the battlefield. In my opinion, it's even slower than Hibernation's End, but I don't know, it might pop off a bit more. This is one of the few cards on this list that I have not actually played with myself, and I don't have any play testing with. So I'd rather let you guys be honest about that and tell you guys that ahead of time. But it does seem to have some insane potential, and I'm looking for anybody who's played or used Wild Pair to let me know in the comments, how do you feel about it? Is it too slow? Is it too clunky? Is it really right for certain decks, or does it work perfectly in a certain deck? My thought process is, I bet this card is really busted at casual tables or low power tables, but probably isn't amazing in other places. But it could be a hell of a lot of fun. It's a very, very weird, unique card. You also, read it very carefully, you may search the library for a creature card with the same total power and toughness. Not exact power and toughness. So if you play like a 2/2 bear, you don't need to go grab a 2/2. If you play a 2/2 grizzly bear, you could go grab a 1/3 or an 0/4 or, you know, a 3-in-1 power creature, right? It has to be total, because that grizzly bear is a 2/2 or 4 total power and toughness. You could go grab a variety of different power and total toughness creatures from that point forward. This could be some really weird build around where maybe you play like some really basic creatures with like, I don't know, a 2-mana 3/3 like that new card that's a white card from a newer set. But you could do that and then grab like a 6 total on power toughness creature that's like pretty like high CMC but a powerful ability attached. Am I making any sense? You could build around this in a certain way where you're playing vanilla high power and toughness creatures and then grabbing really powerful abilities, really powerful effects on creatures that are like 8 mana but only are like 2/2s or have very little power toughness attached to them. It's a weird card. Once again, I don't feel super confident on this one, but it's interesting. It's neat. I had to show it off. It's $1.50. It's in 9,000 decks and only 0.29% of total decks that it can fit into. Okay, and for number 1, these weren't in any sort of power rankings, but dude, this might be one of the ones I'm the most confident about is a fantastic card. Or maybe I'm just biased. I love transmute cards. Dizzy Spell, dude. 1 blue mana for an instant where target creature gets -3/-0. Okay, that could matter. That could be beneficial for just sneaking under some commander damage or just surviving in a certain crucial combat. That's fine, but really transmuting 3 mana. It costs 3 mana to transmute it. Discard this card. Search your library for a card with the same CMC as this card. Reveal it. If you don't know, transmute is a common powerful effect on certain cards. It's 1 CMC. 1 CMC might be the best CMC that you could possibly want to transmute for. You could grab your Sensei's Top, grab your Dispel. There's so many. It's so good. Grab your Elvish Mystic if you need a ramp. Grab your Soul Ring. You could just every single game fucking discard this and grab your Soul Ring, or use it as a decent effect to snipe under some combat damage, or maybe even kill your opponent's commander in combat. How many times are you in an early game of Commander and your friend has like, they put their dumb little commander, it's like a 3/2 or something like that, right? And you've got some dumb little creature on the battlefield that's like a 2/1 or something like that. Like you play them 1 Fully Beast Tractor, for example. Well, they might attack into you, expecting you obviously aren't going to block with that creature, and even if you do, it's a chump block. Well, now you can Dizzy Spell them, killing their commander, right, in the perfect early game. But I feel like, I say it's like a perfect situation, but I feel like there are so many of those dumb little early game chump attacks and chump blocks that happen in Commander. This card gets me excited, man. I think this card is sick. I think it's underrated. I think Transmute is an incredibly powerful mechanic. The fact that this is only in 0.42%. How is this in 0.42% of decks only? That's wild to me, dude. 13,000 decks, pretty decent number, but the 0.42% number drives me crazy. Put this in some decks. Try it out. It's under $1. It's 80 cents. It's an 80-cent common, which to me is like, okay, this card's doing some cool shit. Dizzy Spell is good, man. Check it out. All right, that is our top 10 list. However, I do have 3 extra honorable mentions. I'm not going to talk about in great detail, but really just explain to you guys what they do, because there were so many cool cards that I wanted to fit on this list that I just couldn't fit all of them into a top 10. So it's kind of a top 13. All right, so our first honorable mention is a snow-based card. It's just a little bit too linear for my tastes. It's 2 and a white for a snow sorcery even. Search your library for a snow permanent card, a legendary card, or a saga card. So you don't have to grab a snow card. You can just grab a legendary card with this. That's even more interesting than like the legendary creature action in time of need. You could just grab the One Ring with this. Go grab yourself the One Ring and then start doing broken One Ring things. Or grab yourself an Urza Saga or some Saga card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. You gain 1 life for each snow mana spent, sure. But kind of an underrated card, honestly. Maybe deserved a spot on this list. There's too many good cards. There's too many cool cards to talk about, but definitely an underrated one. In 32,000 decks, in about 1% of decks that could run it. Next up, the second honorable mention, I think the most popular card we've talked about in this video today. It kind of got a lot more popular since I actually added it to the list a few weeks back. This was printed in the new Tarkir Dragonstorm set, so I think it was underrepresented because it's just so new. This is just a really nice budget Green Sun Zenith sort of option. Nature's Rhythm, X and 2 green for a sorcery. That's important. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield. But then you can also cast it again later on with Harmonize, where you basically tap your creatures and use their, I believe, their power. You may tap a creature you control to reduce the cost by an amount of generic mana equal to its power. So you tutor up one bid creature and then use that creature you literally just tutored up to cast it again for another bidder or, you know, other bid creature. It was also 50 cents when I added this card to the list, and now it's creeping up to like $3. So this card, I kind of noticed from a mile away. It took me a while to record this video, so it's a bit later than I anticipated, so apologies for that. But this card getting up there, $3, 4% usage, wow. And then next up, 3 Dreams, 4 and a white for a sorcery, a lot of mana. It's a big, you know, kind of takes your whole turn sort of thing. Search your library for up to 3 aura cards with different names, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Yes, it's a 5 mana tutor that doesn't play them immediately, you know, doesn't add mana. That's not great, but it tutors up in an Enchantress or or like in a Boggles style commander deck. You tutor up your 3 most powerful enchantments. And I feel like when I've played Boggles, you really notice, you have it in mind, in my opinion, like there are enchantment auras that are so much stronger than the others. I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like that really stands out to me, or are really good in certain situations that will give like protection from certain colors to be able to sneak through that extra damage, or just have protection for blocks or whatever, right? So 3 Dreams I think is it's something worth considering, but definitely a more expensive option. Which is why it's an honorable mention. It's about $2 in 9,500 decks and in 0.3% of decks that could run it. But all right, we did it. We made it. That is all the underrated tutors that I wanted to go ahead and cover today. I hope you found them interesting. I hope you learned something. Once again, if you did, if you found a card that you're going to pop in a deck, or at least consider in the back of your mind from this point forward, like the video, subscribe. That is the best way to support, guys. I'm pushing for 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. That is the goal. That would be amazing. But really, just thank you for watching. Have a great day. Play Magic, have fun, and find weird cards.